Cool, cool.
Hey folks, we are live. Welcome, SVT time, Tuesday. It's another episode. This is episode. I know I keep on looking at my other screen here, but
It's
I know it's
okay.
episode 46. Welcome to episode 46. Tuesday, I think it's January 9th. New year. Oh, this is actually, Mark. This is the first SVT time for 2023.
Woo!
So everybody, please
Yeah.
say hello to our good friend, Ampeg endorser, artist, fan, very good friend of ours, Mr. Mark Pacificar. Mark, how are you
Hello.
today?
I'm good. I'm good. I'm staying dry. It's a little rainy in California. I was gonna ask Dom how he was doing because been seeing a lot of rain go. LA doesn't look like LA right now, and yeah,
Yeah,
so just
yeah,
concerned with pals, but
yeah.
I'll
Well,
text them.
so quick background on Dom, everybody, in case you're wondering. I know Dom wasn't on the last broadcast because he was out of town. This broadcast, he's like everybody else, he's dealing with, not COVID, but he's dealing with flu and whatnot. So he asked if we could just say a quick word for him and say hello and just put him in your thoughts and prayers that he's
Indeed, and
feeling better.
I think he has a new single coming out. He's an awesome songwriter, so
That's right. That's
yeah, I
right.
get his songs. I get a fever stuck in my head every so often, and I just I'm just stoked. So
No, it's
yeah,
it's it's actually true because for those of you that are watching that don't know, our Dom Liberati, who is our product manager, is also a very accomplished singer, songwriter, producer. If let's put it this way, I would have him produce my album if I wrote my own stuff, but I don't. But yeah,
I would play bass for him, but he plays bass,
I,
so
I keep on asking. I was like, dude, why don't you just be a front man and hire some bass players? But he's
yeah,
he's a phenomenal bass player too.
sure,
So,
yeah, that's so
anyways,
funny.
yeah. So no, he's not dealing. He is okay with the floods and everything, but
Good, good.
yeah, I know we've been seeing the reports here and in on the East Coast about all the stuff you guys are dealing with in California with the floods. You're
Yeah,
in a good place, right? You're
yeah,
not.
yeah. I've been splitting time between outside of LA with my girlfriend and outside of San Diego County with my folks. So I'm at my folks' place right now, and it's been a really safe and wonderful place. They're on a little retirement, like kind of ranch style thing. So
Nice.
dad will say, "Can you dig?" He's an older vet, so
Yeah,
it's time I'll never get back. I'm thankful for it. So like,
absolutely.
yeah, yeah. He's like, "Can you dig this hole?" And I begrudgingly say, "How deep?" And I just go, like anytime you talk about your folks like or your kids going, dad's coming home, keep the rooms clean. I just still resonate because I split time here, so I
Sure.
open jars for mom. I have both of them. Both my folks are luckily thankfully still with us, and drive them to their doctor's appointments if they're not feeling well. We just had the bug. I just had the bug. And but yeah, so we're all good though. It's been
Okay.
a yeah, thankfully little crazy but at times, but things are thankfully good. And I
Yeah.
got a puppy. There's a puppy in here just
Oh, cool.
sleeping. She might wake up. She's
That's all right.
quiet. Yeah, she's sweet.
Oh, that's awesome. That's
Yeah,
awesome.
things
We're blessed, to be able to be so close with our parents
yeah.
and they're blessed to have us with them as well. So
Yeah. Oh man,
in some ways.
it's like a tribe. Like the other day, dad took a spill. He's okay, but I drove mom is a retired nurse, so she walked him through the ER. The
Okay.
puppy is new, can't leave her, brought her. So I hung out in my car for like 4 hours, 5 hours, walked around the
Yep.
area. We all drove home. It was all, just happy to help. Happy I was like in town
Yeah.
to help. So
Yeah.
it was, yeah.
Yeah, no, that's cool. That's very cool, and that's actually one of the topics that I wanted to bring up.
Mm,
Obviously, knowing we know each other's home situations and life
sure.
situations and touring situations. So
Yeah.
that was one thing that I was going to ask. Like, how do you approach? I call it reentry. Actually, it's like when you're
Oh,
on the
I do
road for a
too.
certain amount of time, and then and you're in a tour bus or you're flying from gig to gig, and
Mhm.
you're living somewhat of a quote unquote rock star life.
Oh, yeah.
But then you come home to a normal lifestyle, wife and kids and parents and yard work. And how do you approach your reentry? Like, do you
Oh
start
man.
psyching yourself out, knowing, all right, in 2 days I'm going to be back home off the road, and I'm going to have to cook my own meals, sort of thing.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it's definitely reentry is the term I use too. It's the best term, and it took me a while when I started touring to know that. And my girlfriend reminded me, "Hey, you okay?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm okay." And I didn't realize I wasn't. And it was little
Yeah.
things. And I'm gonna sound like a princess, and I'm gonna own up. I am a little bit of a princess, not a drama queen, but I like water. I like my fancy water. I like I like the things I like, and that's what it is. So
Yeah.
like hitting traffic, I would just be more upset than usual. And I didn't know, because
Yep.
usually you just go on the bus and you end up in another town, and it's amazing how much energy you save by just being able to lay down and not focus. I'm like a really focused driver, and that's really draining, or
Sure.
little things like that. Or I still teach some private lessons when I'm home. I've been doing it for like 10 years. So I remember playing one of the biggest shows of my life, like to the biggest audience with Vertical Horizon, who anyways. And I played in Indonesia, flew home. It was cool. And I get back to teaching some kids who I love. They're all great.
Sure.
Um, and they still don't know where this note is, or this thing. And that was like, wow, like super
Yeah.
humbling experience. And it was really hard at first, but then I realized it's the reentry,
Yeah.
you know, laundry, simple things, uh,
Yes.
doctor's appointments, what else? Oh no, bills are like, it's what it is, but just
Yeah.
like the little things, you're in access, things, people can reach you, or even just, yeah, because usually on tour, what's the term? Routine, you know?
Yes.
You
Yeah.
wake
It's like
up,
a regiment.
yeah, your regiment. You wake up, you either hit the shower in the venue, the hotel, you look for coffee or food, and then and that's pretty much, and then you just have all this down. Hurry up and wait. That's what
Yes.
I've learned.
Yeah.
And I don't know. It's kind of fun, but also once I'm home and fully reentried, I love being able to be in control of what I want to do when I want to do it.
Yeah.
Recently, I had a weird experience. We played on the Rock Cruise with Vertical Horizon,
Okay.
that was I've never been on a boat like that, a cruise, and it was weird because I couldn't just escape. I
Yeah.
couldn't just go walk away. Because I'm kind of I'm social, but I'm a little introverted. So I usually just kind of skulk around and just like go get coffee by myself, call home,
Yeah.
and that's it. But there, it's constant. And then you share rooms, and there's like fans sometimes in the same corridor,
Yeah.
and they might run
Yeah.
into you. And they're all sweet and they're all respectful, and some are maybe like a little more interactive, but that's kind of lovely too. It's a unique experience, but you can't just go buy your essential or your water. You have to drink what's on the ship, and that drove me insane. So
Yeah.
if I ever go again, I'm bringing like my princess water package of things I like, my kombucha, like my like things. I like my things, and yeah, it was like being, I don't know. It was really unique experience. It was funny.
Yeah. Yeah. No, but it's very true. It's like, you're I've never been on a cruise. I've never been on a cruise ship. And I've certainly never been on like a concert cruise ship. But yeah, like you said, it's like under normal circumstances when you're on tour, you have the serenity of your tour bus or the hotel where nobody
Yeah.
knows where you're staying or backstage.
Yes. Yeah.
When you're on a cruise ship, man, you can't you the show is always on,
You're
sort of
constantly
thing.
on, yeah.
Yeah.
I even try and just be like, I even would go out in because it was during post or like within the COVID time. I would wear my mask and like a hat, and I would just kind of skulk around, wear shorts, and just kind of like try and look like a normal like a cruise goer. Not like I'm like anyone to be stopped, but you see these people every day, and they
Sure.
might have seen your concert, and not like I'm trying to avoid it, but it was kind of funny. Like I dressed like the Life Aquatic. I don't know if you've seen that movie.
Yep,
I wore
yep,
like a red
yep.
beanie and like little sneakers. It was just like just to make it fun for myself. But yeah, it's the whole thing. And the craziest thing was I've that was my first time on a cruise ship also, or and the movement. was crazy.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
remember we were watching Switchfoot, and we were in this like theater lower bow of the ship. I think that's the right term. And you could,
Oh, yeah. See that wouldn't do well with me.
it was weird, and like a lot of loss of control, and it was a really cool experience, and it was, I hope to do it again because I know what to expect, and you end up at wherever, or you skip whatever town because the water was turbulent, and you just hang out
Yeah.
with other artists, and it was just funny. But yeah, you're always on. Even the crew, they're not supposed to really like chat you up, but a lot of the crew were, I'm Filipino, and a lot of the crew were Filipino,
Okay.
and so we would talk a little bit. I would try and talk, understand, go from there. But the Philippines and Vertical Horizon, they have a big fan base there.
Okay.
So they were just stoked. So I would make sure to I would keep these I don't even play with pick that much, but I would keep all these picks on me that
Yep.
Dunlop made, and I would just kind of here you go, here you go, here you go, here you
Sure.
go, and it's cool, and they're just stoked. Take pictures. They're like, "Are you Filipino?" I'm like, "Yeah, I am," and it's just a lot of fun, and just to make them feel I don't know, just to kind of I try to like those the guards of Buckingham Palace. You try and make them
Yeah.
laugh,
Yep.
it's
Yep.
kind of
Yep.
like that, and there was side note. There's a movie called Triangle of Sadness, and if you
Okay.
haven't seen it, I suggest, or anyone maybe watching,
I gotta write this
there's like
down.
a it's a really surreal thing, but there's a point where there's a boat, and it kind of reminded me of that, and it's kind of fun. I could even email or text it to you if you don't have. But Triangle of Sadness,
Triangle of Sadness. I'm writing it down.
yeah,
All
and
right.
don't even read the what's it called, the description. Just give
Okay.
it a watch, and I guarantee where it starts, you'll never guess where it ends.
Okay.
I've
All right.
never seen a movie like that.
I'm always looking for like good, interesting stuff that I've never heard of too,
Yeah,
So
yeah,
we
yeah,
that's cool. I'll definitely check it out.
yeah.
Um so Mark, so let's get a little bit of your background here. So
Sure.
were you born in the Philippines or
I w
your
I was not.
Okay.
Sorry to cut you off. I was
No,
not.
no.
My folks were, and they moved here my dad's family moved to. My dad's a really interesting person. I love him. He's has a very Forrest Gump kind of history timeline,
Yeah.
but his family moved. His dad enlisted with the Philippine Army, joined the American Army, and he was able to come to the U.S.
Okay.
And he was also in World War II, survived the Bataan Death March. Blows my
Wow.
mind what he's been
Wow.
through. But my dad, they moved to Northern California. He's part of the migrant farm workers,
Oh,
picking strawberries as a kid. It's
sure.
another, you can't take out the trash. When I was a kid, I used to pick strawberries in the morning.
Yeah.
You don't know what that feels like. Anyways, side notes. Then they moved to LA in, I believe, the 60s, right near the LA Forum where the Lakers played. And
Okay.
that's where my dad was from. And eventually my mom came when they met, and so forth, so on. But I was born, cruise tours are great. I'm just seeing some of these
Yeah.
things pop
Yeah.
up. And sorry, so yeah, I was born here, uh, right off Sunset Boulevard. Not
Okay.
literally literally off Sunset Boulevard. Not like in the back alley, but in Kaiser Permanente.
Sure.
And so yeah, I was born there, and parents worked in LA.
Okay.
I grew up in suburbia, Rancho
Nice.
Cucamonga, the city that with the craziest name,
Yeah, right. Right.
and never fits in the bubble when you're filling out legal documents.
Yeah. Yeah.
And just spent a lot of time in LA. So yeah, I'm a Californian.
You are a natural born Californian, man.
I
That's
say
yeah.
like a lot.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, it's funny, yeah, because that's obviously we joke back and forth, with all my coworkers in California. Me being from New England, we say wicked a lot,
Yeah,
and
Yeah,
yeah, it's wicked. It's wicked. So,
yeah.
what was your background for music then? Like,
Oh yeah.
obviously, like, how is anybody else in your family musically inclined, or how did you fall into this?
Well, my folks have always been really supportive. Just to be not versatile, but multifaceted. Have a lot of
Hmm.
interests. I love. I'm a kid. Basketball. California skateboarding's still part of my life. Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, and then, my dad went to Art Center, which was a school out here. He went for, like, painting and so forth, so on. So they both supported the arts. So there was,
Okay.
like, an acoustic guitar laying around
Huh.
and
Okay.
some other instruments, but when I'm thankful for those, the public school band programs. They're like, "You're gonna
Hmm.
play here, why don't you try it? It could be cool." I ended up playing clarinet because my sister had one and she did it. And I ended up really sticking with it. And it was really formative. I didn't realize like how formative it would be. So I played clarinet through elementary, middle school. It was a white clarinet, side note. It was
Wow.
just what it was.
Yeah.
And high school, I kind of like had an aversion to it. I didn't want to do marching band. It would have probably
Yep.
been great, you know. But friends started transitioning out of BMX bikes and skateboards into guitars. And I
Okay.
was like, I even remember, and they'll even they tell me like when we get dinner, like I can't believe that you almost didn't play an instrument because I saw the trend and I was like,
Sure.
you know what? This time I'm not going to buy a paintball gun. I'm not going to buy a BMX bike just to hang out. I'm going to save my money and I'm just going to do something else while you guys have your guitars. Then sure enough, I caved and I was like, okay, I want to play guitar.
Okay.
Yeah, let's do this. But there
Yep.
was already like 2 or 3 of them that were playing guitar. So
Yep.
like, oh, they're like, you could play bass. It's like The Simpsons. You could play
You can play
bass,
bass.
Homer. And so I ended up playing bass, and I've been a bass player from day one.
Yep.
Yeah,
Wow.
I play
You,
guitar. I'm backwards. I play guitar. I'm like in private, I play
yeah.
guitar because it's fun.
Yeah.
It's melodic. But yeah, so I'm a bass player from day one.
I gotta say, you and I have very similar backgrounds because when you
Oh,
said your sister plays clarinet, that's how I got started as well. My
oh,
sister played clarinet, and then, I want to play something else. Well, we already have a clarinet in the family, so you're playing clarinet, and it's gonna be your sister's clarinet.
yeah.
And say that's so interesting. In fact, I've got my original clarinet back here.
Oh, I did the other day, but we just gave it to my sister's daughter
Okay.
who's now at the same elementary school I went to, playing the same clarinet.
Wow.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
amazing, right?
yeah,
I mean, it's funny because, a lot of the guests that have come on SVT time, I would say anytime we talk about their background or the musical background or how they got started, I'm gonna say, and I'm just throwing wild percentages out here, but it's gotta be, in the 90s percent of how many people that say, I got my start through the school music program.
it's huge.
And, given the circumstances without getting into,
Yeah,
the but that's it really is. We have a great music program here in our town as well, and it's so very important to, and not saying sports or anything else isn't important, but it is just so very important to support the arts and support your school music program whenever you can, you know?
100%.
Yeah.
Even like as a kid, and my parents say, all the things that you always hear, like it makes you an interesting person. It's all this and that. But now, as an adult, looking back, I'm like, wow, it was problem solving.
Yeah.
It was dedication, like or applying yourself and using your ears. There's a lot
Yep.
of community building. It's huge. And now, like whenever um like I tend to I've bought a lot of books over the years and I just donate them like to
Yeah.
it's like here you go, like my girlfriend works at a charter arts music school, high school.
Okay.
I'm like,
Okay.
here's some strings I never use, here's a little pocket amp, like give it to a kid, like it's inner city or
Yeah.
low at risk kids. I'm like,
Okay.
here's like this Jocko book I haven't opened in years, please, here you
Yep.
go,
Yep.
because it really makes a huge difference. It's like a
Oh, yeah.
passport to like you can get out of this situation in your daily, but it might even make it a career. I didn't know this was going to be a career, and it
Yeah.
might have all started with a clarinet, which
Yeah.
is crazy.
Yeah.
I emailed my first concert band instructor, and I got to tell him that, and I was like, "Hey, I didn't know, but this is what I do. I just got back from this and that. I've been around the world a couple times, and just want to say thank you because I
Wow.
yeah, it was huge, and like I was happy I was able to reach him because he was known as being I don't know the right term, hard, you know,
Sure. Yep.
Here's my favorite story, and I still use it. And I do teach like some little kids because it's like paying it forward a little bit.
Of
You get to
course.
see it, and I've got to use these lessons because I was never the best student. Like I'm kind of like an atrocious student, like at least I think so. And but I'm clever. So, anyways, I lied to this. His name was Mr. Bonner, and I lied to him. He's like, "So why didn't you practice?" I was like, "Oh man, yeah, about that. I was really busy because I have a lot of chores. You see, my parents like work a lot, and like they expect me to clean and cook, or not cook. I was like in fifth grade,
Yeah.
like clean
Yeah.
as like."
Right.
So, anyways, he gets the chalkboard. It's still a chalkboard. Wheels it over. He's like, "Okay, we're gonna make your itinerary of what you did, your schedule." And so I was like, "Okay, I vacuumed the stairs." Like it was just getting. I was really pulling for straws. And he's like, "Okay, cool. This is a lot, Mark. I'm just gonna call your folks and like see if this lines up." And this is still landlines, you know. So I was
Wow.
just like walking home, like any of those shows, like just dreading it, thinking about it. Like, what am I gonna do? How am I gonna like
How am I
Ferris
gonna get
Bueller?
out of this
Yeah,
one?
how am I gonna Ferris Bueller my way out of this one? Uh, and I was like, I'll just nudge the landline. Anyways, like so hops off or
Yeah.
something. Sorry, I got.
Yeah.
Uh, so I think I
That's
confessed
awesome.
out of worry to my folks, like, "Mom," because I don't think I was scared of my dad. It's like, "Mom,
Yeah. Yeah.
this is what I did, and I'm sorry." And she said, and they think it's still funny. We still like I bring it up once in a while to them, and it taught me to be to own up,
Yeah.
to just
Yeah.
like actually practice and
Yeah.
not
Yeah.
make up all these excuses. And I still try and remember. I have to remind myself that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
No, it's true.
all those things.
Yep.
He held me accountable.
And how old were you then? You were
10,
5 years
9,
old? Oh, okay.
9,
Yeah.
10,
But
5th grade.
yeah, I mean, even yeah, it's just, like you said, it holds you accountable to a certain standard,
Yeah.
and you take that with you in life.
Oh, yeah.
Um, hey, so let me just see here. So this came in I know we had talked about this earlier. So speaking of influences, Taylor from Instagram
Oh, yeah.
wants to know who your biggest influence is.
Oh, okay. So I saw that question, and Taylor is also a musician. He's a bass player, guitar player, songwriter, and
Okay.
he asked that because and I thought about it for a sec, but I know where he's going with it. So there was this movie, and I watched a lot of movies as a kid.
Okay.
It's called That Thing You Do. Have you
I
seen that?
know it very well. Tom
So
Hanks.
yes, Tom Hanks. So I saw it because someone like a family friend. Anyways, we saw like a little promo release of it. I was really young when that came out, but there was this
You go
bass player who
I
came
know
up.
who you're gonna say. I know
Yeah,
exactly who you're gonna say.
yeah, there was this moment, and there was this guy who came up, and he's like, well, their bass player who doesn't have a name in that whole movie, Ethan
Right.
Embry, no name,
Yep. Yep.
credits,
Yep.
TB player.
Yep.
And I just love the music. Anyways, this bass player comes up like, hey, guys, this is your new bass player, Scott Pell,
Wolfman.
Wolfman. And so I love this. And I was like, who is this guy? He just came in. They're like, I don't know who you played with. And he's like, Tom Hanks rifles off, so
Yeah.
forth,
Yeah.
so on, his
Yep.
credits. And he's like, but can you handle our tune? He's like, I can handle it, Junior. And he grabbed a bass just like this, two-tone sunburst,
Yep.
gold guard,
Yep.
50s style P bass, and he started playing. And then he ended it with like their chord changes. So Wolfman, a fictional character who's actually a real bass player.
Is
He's
he
a
really a
jazz.
bass player?
Yeah, the actor is a jazz bass player. I looked it up.
Okay. Okay.
And he but this hired guy, the equivalent of like a Duck Dunn
Yep.
or a Bob Babbitt. No, I
Yep.
wouldn't say Jamerson because I don't think he went out that much, but I'll say Babbitt because I love Babbitt.
Yeah. Yeah.
And he was just like, yeah, I got it. And he just came in, never met him, and played on their TV date. So Scott Pell, Wolfman, that was
Scott
probably,
Pell. Oh man, that
yeah.
is awesome.
Like I revisited it, like went through. It's like, oh, Mike Dirnt, Flea. I'm a kid that
Yeah.
I was born in the '80s, grew up in the '90s. So Flea, Mike Dirnt, those guys were like they were huge. So
Sure.
of course I love those guys. But when I revisited it, I was like, that's who I want to be.
That is awesome.
That's who I want to be. I was like, because a band can fail, like a band can. I suggest anyone to watch the movie That Thing You Do.
Yeah, it's a
If
great
anyone in
movie.
the feed, one of my favorites, written so
Yep.
well. Tom Hanks, love child of a movie. It's like his baby. really great sets, great music. Mike Viola and oh my gosh, why am I forgetting the name? You know when you really care about something or someone and the name
Yep.
just escapes you and you're like, I have like the single. I bought the promo single. It's like out of reach right now. Adam Schlesinger wrote that
Okay.
the song. He sadly passed during COVID.
Okay.
He was the bass player in Fountains of Wayne,
Okay.
and he wrote the song That Thing You Do
Oh, wow.
for the
Okay. I didn't
movie.
know that. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he had the great singer-songwriter Mike Viola be the voice for it. And anyways, yeah, that's it. That's the movie. And I've gone to actually kind of communicate with some of the actors from it. And oh man, it was so cool. It was a couple years ago. How did it work out? Oh, okay. During the pandemic, they did they watch along, and you could oh, I'm clipping, sorry. And you could donate for, I think it was Music Cares, and it was for Adam's memory. And so I like donated, for all of us were out of work, so it was
Yeah.
great cause. And they did commentary, so forth, so on. It was really great. And I commented and I posted my little record of That Thing You Do, the single. And some of the actors liked it. Anyways, a couple years ago, they went to Erie, PA to do like a charity baseball game. And I
Okay.
was playing Erie, PA the week before with Vertical Horizon. We were on tour with Train. We played their
Okay.
arena. And the singer Pat Monahan from Train is from Erie. Awesome guy. And I posted, I was like, hey, I'm gonna play Erie, PA for the Neaters. And I was just kind of hammering it up on Instagram, and I tagged some of the actors, and they would like, it was cool. So I started with the singer, the actor. Um, we went back and forth on lines. It was hilarious.
Oh, wow. Did you
Yeah,
had
the guy
I
who
hope
played Jimmy,
I
the
was gonna
super nice
say,
guy.
I hope you brought up Captain Geach and the Shrimp Shack
Oh
Shooter.
yeah, yeah. But the funny thing is, he said, "Hey, our bass player can't make it. Uh, you should come out to for this Neaters thing because it was everyone except for Ethan Embry, I think, went, and it was so cool. I was just checking here, uh,
That
and
is
I was
too
like, he's
funny.
like, but can you handle our tune? And I was like, I think I can handle it.
Did you
And
did you pull off Wolfman's
oh,
licks?
I wish it was just I could have sent him a video.
That's too funny.
But I definitely sound checked by playing That Thing You Do in the Erie, PA like local arena because
Okay.
that was like an arena that night, which was wild. So I played do 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 do, and I just kind of giggled to myself and just really, really, really enjoyed that day.
That is too funny, man. That is
Yeah,
too funny. That yeah, that is one of my I'm not gonna well, yeah, it's probably one of my
that's
favorite. Like whenever that movie comes on, I never change the channel. Let's put it that
can't
way.
can't.
And it's
Yeah.
just it's a great like it's just a great rainy Saturday morning movie to sit
Oh,
down and check
huge.
out, and
Yeah.
the acting and the music is fantastic as well.
Yeah,
But
the
yeah,
actor's name is the singer that I was communicating with, Jonathan Sheck, and he's just awesome. I
okay,
wish I grabbed the vinyl. Let's see if I can reach it.
yeah, that's too funny. Captain Geach and the Shrimp Shack Shooters. Say that 10 times fast.
I know, I know. Oh, where is it at? I must have put it somewhere safe.
On the Playtone Records label too.
It is.
Yeah,
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 yeah.
and it's so good. I'll just post a picture about it later. I'll tag Ampeg. It was just cool. Yeah.
The funniest part, man, is when he's talking to when Jimmy's talking to the owner of Playtone while they're having deli,
Oh yeah.
about the new album, and
Yeah, yeah.
and and he starts yelling at Tom
He's like,
Hanks'
oh God,
character.
let this kid. Who let this kid in here?
But it's so true. I mean
Yeah,
that is so conducive
yeah,
of the music business. Trying to
yeah.
have trying to have deli. Oh
So
man.
true. I remember you were talking about you would spin record. Oh, I got it. It's right here. You would spin records with your family,
Yeah,
right?
I still
Recently?
do. Yeah,
So cool. Here it
yeah.
is.
That's it. That's it. The
Yeah.
Wonders, the Oneaters.
Yeah, it came
Yeah.
from an eBay seller who must have had a box of them, and
Wow.
he was in Burbank. He or she or they were in Burbank, and yeah, there it is, and
That
it
is
plays properly.
that is so cool. Yeah, we still um you know, I inherited this big console Magnavox
Oh, cool.
turntable stereo from my mom. When she, you know, she moved to a smaller condo, and
Mhm.
this thing had been in our family for since I was a kid. I mean, I remember like I remember sitting in front of
At
this
first,
record.
did it turn
Yeah.
on with a click of the volume? Goes like,
Yep.
it's like,
Exactly. That's
and it
exactly
warms
it.
up. Oh,
Yep.
so
Yep.
good.
So I have that in our living room, and we haven't done it in a while. Well, we over Christmas we did because the kids were home, and you
Mhm.
know it's kind of like more of a family atmosphere. But yeah, we always Sunday mornings, you know, when we're all getting up and making breakfast and just kind of getting our day started. My wife especially will put on her favorite thing is she will put on either the Guardians of the Galaxy soundtrack,
Oh, that's a great
which
one.
yeah, I mean, it's got, you know, it's got all those hits, you know, um, or just to really get my kids' blood flowing, I'll put on some Greek music, and it just freaks them
Oh.
completely.
Oh,
Like, "Dad,
man.
what are we listening to?" It's
What
like
oh, man. The Greek music, there's that instrument I was listening to Phil X talk about on a podcast, and it's a stringed instrument. Is
the bouzouki.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah. And I
yeah,
guess he applied the picking technique to, like, electric guitar,
sure,
and
yeah, yeah. Some of those traditional bouzouki players, you know, I remember going to like the Greek restaurant in town, and every Friday and Saturday they'd have a bouzouki player, a clarinet player, and you know, like a tabla.
yeah.
And, some of those guys, you know, after you get a couple of shots of ouzo in them, forget it. They're like they're off the chart.
Oh, amazing, amazing.
But,
Oh, that's too good, too
so
good.
you let me ask you this. So,
Yeah.
I of course, you know, whenever you're one of probably, I'm gonna say 4 or 5 guys that whenever I have a P-based question,
Oh,
like between you, Bob Glob, um David Rowe, who's a buddy of mine in Nashville. Like you're a consummate P bass guy.
oh, man. That's a really cool compliment, it's, like, cool company to be in.
Well, but
Yeah.
seriously, it's
Yeah.
like you know when I think of a P bass player, you're one of the names that comes to mind. Of course,
Oh,
Sean
that's cool.
Burley. So do you play 5 string? Do you play anything else? Or I mean, I know you've
Yeah.
got a couple of axes in the background there too,
The
but
funny thing is I have a 5-string P
oh,
bass.
of course. Okay.
Yeah, and,
Right.
yeah, it's cool. This was the first 5-string I've ever owned. I borrowed Sean Hurley's 5-string to audition for Vertical Horizon,
Okay.
which is a crazy sentence in itself. Because so Sean is the original bass player during Vertical Horizon's, like, like, run.
Yep.
He was,
Yep.
like, the one in the videos and the promo photos I still get and I sign. I take a picture, I sent him, like, wow. Like, it's there's a little funny Sean and I have a really funny relationship. He's like an older brother, or
Yep.
maybe like Obi-Wan, if I'm Anakin, if I could be that
Okay.
cool. I've
Okay.
always used the analogy because I'm a basketball fan. I was like, because I've ripped him off so much. Like, I should pay him. Like how Kobe ripped off Jordan. Like,
Right. Right.
it's a little much. Like, my girlfriend gives me crap sometimes. Like, it's funny. Like, even how he talks. I don't try and copy how he talks, but there's moments just kind of comes out. He's like, well, hey, hi. It's like this wonderful airiness. But anyways, I borrowed Sean's 5-string P bass when I auditioned for Vertical, and went up to the singer's house, plugged in a little amp,
Yep.
played the tunes, and we were off. So
Wow.
yeah.
Wow. Now what gigs were you doing prior to that?
Oh
Or
yeah.
was
I was playing for some singer-songwriters in the area of LA. One of my pals who we'll probably get to, Joy Lodikin,
Yep.
singer-songwriter, like Hotel Cafe,
Yep.
really, she's so cool. She's the coolest. Um, played for this band called Exists Elsewhere, and that was a little like M83-ish Phoenix kind
Yeah.
of thing. So I remember when I started playing for Vertical, Matt was saying, like, so it's not quite like I want you to have fun, take ownership of the stage. It's not quite like a side man, you're in the shadows, something I really love and I'm accustomed to. You just kind of stand like
Yep.
by the hi-hat and
Yeah.
do your thing. No, it's like you take up some stage. This is your area. So we like I was trying to find stuff. It's like, oh, I've done it before, but in reality, I've done a lot more of the,
Yeah. Yeah.
like
Yeah. The
back
side
in
guy.
this, yeah. So that was a kind of a thing I had to get comfortable owning, and
Yeah.
uh yeah, so I was playing for singer-songwriters usually, just like
Okay.
more subtle stuff. A lot of Americana. Played with this artist named David Rosales, some cool tunes on Spotify, and Exists Elsewhere. David Rosales maybe came in contact with some former like American Idol. Oh, this guy Josh Royce, and
Okay.
just different people, like smaller artists, but excuse me, but Joy and Exists Elsewhere were probably some of the bigger ones before playing with Vertical. So yeah, so the first, like, I think we touched base on, but like pro gig, I
Hmm.
was like writing it. I went through like I was having dinner. I was like, what were these things? It's like, when we call it, say, pro gig, is that when you get paid, or like, is it? I remember the first one I ever played. I was in college and I was just getting my stuff together. Like, hey, you want to play some covers at this place called Jurassic Cafe? I think it's in City of Industry, and it's this restaurant that kind of looks like a rainforest cafe. Have you
Okay.
seen those?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
But it's in the style of Jurassic Park, but in no way does it have any like licensing to Jurassic Park. Like, there's no way the building supervisors of that city approve this. It was the sketchiest, like fake dinosaur bones and like spiral staircase, and you're playing on this little thing. There's no reason for me to be there. That was the first time. But I would say the first gig like I did that was pro level was probably this band called Exists Elsewhere, and we went on a tour to play at high schools. The band was younger. Drummer, their name's Elia Wood. Father was in the Trans Siberian Orchestra.
Oh wow.
Yeah, and now they play for Shania Twain.
Okay.
Like, amazing
Wow.
drummer. The band
Yeah.
was like put together these like great young guys, and I was the older guy. I felt like Wolfman. I got the first taste of the
The
wolf.
Wolfman.
And the guitar player, his name's Josh Jaramillo. He ended up playing for Miguel, that awesome like singer
Yeah.
songwriter pop artist.
Yep. Yep.
And then the singer, sadly, we lost him a couple years ago. His name was Noah Benadu, and he wrote some awesome stuff and great songwriter. Lost him way too early, and yeah, sad. Like, we miss him and love his family. And we went on tour, and we went on this like high school tour. It was an anti-bullying thing
Okay.
that, and Fender guitars backed it. So my first tour was on a Prevost tour bus, which was insane.
Wow.
Like, first
Yeah.
gig. And so I got to experience that first go. We opened some shows for Scott Stapp from Creed, which was a unique experience too. And South by Southwest, and I was like, hang out with these guys. In retrospect, we weren't that far in age, but we're just a bunch of kids on a tour bus. Like,
Yeah.
what is
Yeah.
going on?
On a Prevo.
On a on a 12 bed Prevost, junk bunks, the whole
Yeah.
thing.
Right.
And that was my first like taste of it. And all my friends that like really like grinded and like pushed hard, they're like, your first tour was on a bus?
Yeah.
You didn't go in a van?
Yeah. The white van tour
Yeah, you didn't
up and
do
down the West
that?
Coast.
And I was like, no, like, I never have. And it just kind of worked out. I always I don't know, I've always been in this weird situation. Like, growing up in Southern California, there was a lot of like pop punk, and it just never really like resonated with me, like
Yeah.
musically. It's like never a big thing. So I was always just at home playing bass because I
Okay.
didn't really get it. I was just trying to copy Flea or
Yeah.
listen to Motown,
Yeah.
stuff like that. So it just kind of went against the grain, and it kind of, I'm not saying it wouldn't have worked out if I went that way, but it just worked out.
It
And
worked out. Sure.
yeah, I was like, oh, here I am,
Yeah.
and been really
Yeah.
fortunate.
It's funny because, like you say, you talk about that era, and you're you coming into bass playing in that era. What made you really what made you gravitate towards like a P bass and a B15 though, because
Oh, yeah.
back in that, I mean,
Yeah.
especially in LA, I mean, the de facto sound in LA back then was a Tobias bass and an SWR rig, really.
Yeah. There was a lot of that.
Um,
Well, mom listened to a lot of Motown,
okay.
and dad like John Denver. More my mom playing music like Sinatra, like
Yep.
Paul Anka, Beatles, stuff like that.
Yeah.
Then like Motown, a lot of R&B. And once I went into school or when did I realize there was a point when I realized there's this sound and I don't know how to get to it. And then it was around the time I met Sean.
Okay.
And I knew of like the B15s. I always had this silly dream. You're like, I want a baby grand piano and a B15, like in a house I own.
Sure.
Like maybe I'll be like an X-ray tech and I'll just like accomplish that goal, or I won't be a musician, but I'll do that. So yeah. Anyways, I met Sean at Hotel Cafe, and again, he's been like an older. The bass community is surreal.
Yes.
Sean Hurley, Tim LaFave,
Yep.
Bob Glob,
Yep.
Mike Elizondo, JMJ, Chris Chaney.
That
Guys I looked up to.
Yep.
So much, and still do. Like I still text them. I giggle. I go,
Sure.
Like how they responded. It's so cool. And I'm like such a fanboy for music and bass, and I forget that sometimes. But yeah, anyways, I met Sean at Hotel Cafe, which is the best place. It's like the hub in LA or Hollywood, and he was playing with David Ryan Harris.
We just put a couple of amps in Hotel Cafe. They got a couple
good.
of the new Rocket Bass amps too.
Oh,
so anyways,
they
continue.
needed it. They needed it.
I know.
Which way is my mic? They needed it. That's cool. Yeah, Hotel. So that's that. I'm happy to hear that they have that now.
Yep.
Cool.
Yep.
Anyways,
so you met Sean Hurley.
I met Sean. Sorry.
Cafe.
Yeah, he was playing with David Ryan Harris.
Off.
Yeah, no, it's all good. He was playing with David Ryan Harris, who I know sang at Dom's.
That's
wedding.
right. That's
and,
right.
Like, I have like my favorite hat,
and I got to play my girl behind him on that.
I watched that. On Instagram. I screen grabbed. I sent it to my girl.
Look at this. That was so surreal, by the way. Thank you, Dom. Again,
this is like my favorite hat. David is awesome. I love the font. Anyways, I'll put that. I met him. I was like, "Excuse me, I don't even know how I approached. Like, Mr. Hurley." I was like, "My name is Mark," and it's like, "Oh, nice to meet you." And there's the Sean impression. Nice to meet you. So you play bass? I'm like, yeah, I do. And then like we met. I watched him play later. And then I found him on Twitter, and I hit him up. I say, "Hey, nice to meet you. Would love to pick your brain sometime." And this is probably like old like sales techniques I learned when I worked at the local Guitar Center.
Okay.
Or maybe my skateboarding, like kind of like little drive, like I'm gonna get to know him. And I was like, "I'd love to pick your brain. I want to try and make a sense of this crazy musician world."
Yep.
He followed me back, messaged me, call me, give me his number. And I don't know if now maybe other people are going to try and do this to him, track him down. Hey, what are your phone number? And we talked, and he gave me a bunch of advice, and I ended up studio assisting for him at his old studios.
Okay.
He's had a couple, I think, in LA. And after that day, I sat down with the bass, like, okay, grab a bass. So I grabbed a bass, and I knew what bass I was going to grab. Is like, anyways, big fan, right?
Yep.
I played. He's like, "That's great. That's cool." And just been copying them, from that day. And then but the thing is, and I wrote it down, like, why reinvent the wheel?
Yeah.
Fender bass, Ampeg. Done. Like all your favorite recordings.
Yeah.
That. Electric bass was popularized in the Motown era. It was really up front. Fender bass, Ampeg.
Yeah.
It's accessible. It's like, why not own and use the things that you like how it sounds? And you know what? All the engineers and artists, their first like spoon helping of bass was that. So why not do that? And that I think that's been Sean's kind of like, I think that's what he was thinking, and a lot of other people, but that's what I've adopted. And it just consisted. Like most major recordings, P bass, Ampeg.
Yeah.
oh, what about this one? P-base Ampeg.
Yeah, no, it's yeah, you're right. You're right.
So
And it's a formula that has worked for over 50 years now,
yeah,
you
and
know.
let's say the J-base came first. It might be J-base Ampeg, because if it was
Sure.
the first, like, here it is. If my girl was tracked on a Hofner and
Yeah.
Ampeg, everyone might want that.
Yeah.
But it was P-base Ampeg, and it just makes sense. It sits well with the drums. Jess Oliver, Leo Fender, they got it right
Yeah. Yeah.
from the get-go.
Yeah. No,
Crazy.
it's funny you say that because there's, obviously, like you said, Sean Hurley, Bob Glob, Bob Babbitt, James Jamerson, like
Yes.
Carol Kay, Joe Osborne, like all those cats.
Yeah.
That's, it was either a jazz bass or a P bass. A lot of times, sometimes it wasn't a B15. Like
Yeah.
there's a lot of conflicting stories, but when Jameson was recording, when they were in the Snake Pit in Motown, Detroit, they were saying like a lot of those recordings weren't actually B15. They were Jameson direct into the board or into a B15 that was fed into the board, sort of thing. But it's funny. I remember it it's by de facto, I call it the cuckoo clock syndrome. It's like we had an old cuckoo clock in our house, and every hour on the hour, this damn bird would come out and go cuckoo, 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 to the point where you just didn't hear it anymore.
Yeah.
Even when it would come out and cuckoo, you wouldn't hear it. And I equate that same kind of philosophy with we've been listening to this type of sound, a Fender P bass or a jazz bass or some sort of what they say in Nashville, the FSO, Fender shaped object, through an Ampeg.
Yeah.
And we've been listening to it for so many years that it's just come ingrained in our heads of what a bass is supposed to sound like.
Yeah.
And I remember like when my dad was alive, he would come out, not all the time, but when he would come out to a gig. Now this is an old Greek truck driver.
I have to interrupt real quick because
Yeah.
what was your anytime I hear of someone share or we lose people and it's a thing, and
Yeah.
it's part of our heart. What was his name?
His name was Milton.
Milton. So
Yeah.
I just firmly believe we have to say the name. I won't ever let
Okay.
someone share. It's like my aunt, I want to
Yeah.
like Teresa, my aunt
Okay.
Teresa. Like that's just me, and I just like I feel like that's how we could keep Milton
Yeah.
with us.
No, thank
So
you.
of
Thank you.
course, of
Yeah,
course.
thank you for saying that. So
Yeah.
yeah, so Milty would come out, he'd come out to the gigs. And this guy, like I said, the only thing he knew about music was how to support me, basically. That was what he knew. If my kid needed this, here you go. But he would come out and at the end of the show, he'd first thing he would always say, he'd come up to me and go, "Bass sounded pretty good tonight, kid." Like all he knew was what a bass was supposed to sound like because of all those years growing up in the house and me being in my bedroom plucking away on a bass,
Yeah.
So yeah, it just kind of becomes like, even the most unmusically educated person, they know what a bass is supposed to sound like, or they know what a good drum kit sounds like, or they
Yeah.
know what a guitar sounds like, that sort of thing.
And
So
it's fun when you take the bass away with someone that isn't as like,
oh yes.
with it, and they're just, whoa, where'd that
Yeah.
go? Like my mom, she's like, what is bass? I'm like, it's like a guitar drum,
Yeah.
and it's like I'd show her, I'm like, okay, this is it. This is it without it. It's like this is your brain on drugs, is your brain off drugs. It's like kind of those old commercials, and she gets it. And it's so much of her music is it, it's
Yeah.
listening
Oh
to
yeah.
oh man, I was at a market and I heard a Gladys Knight song and it's like, wow. And I talked to my mom, actually, she sang it. Like she
Right.
just like sang it. I was like, oh yeah.
That is so cool. Yeah, it's like a warm blanket is the way I
Oh,
describe it. It's
yeah.
it's the warm blanket that lays over the music that just kind of keeps everything nice and warm and comfortable, sort of thing.
I was thinking about when I was prepping for this our SVT time, which is so cool. Gotta make the tea time. Like what like how I would because I think at some point maybe you're gonna ask, but it's like B15 or SVT. It's like, well, they're like really different, but it's like they're both like I think of it like a warm blanket, or like your
Yeah.
favorite sweater. but they could be really aggressive too, you know. But I would love to try it one day if like a gig situation called for it. But I always feel like a B15 is like right here,
Mm-hmm.
and it's like really like it's kind of tight and it's warm and it just kind of like in the chest, and then SVT kind of surrounds it.
Yeah.
There, I don't know, like I'm not a super tech like frequency person, but the SVT definitely there's something that's really engulfing, and
Yeah.
there's like a great like mid area. But I would love to hear them both at the same time. I have to try it. So I mean, I have them. Maybe I should do it.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll do it
Yeah.
today. Put the B15 there and then like run SVT around it and or mic them. I don't know. Now I'm curious. Oh god. Weird.
Now you got me thinking, because I'm going to do the same thing
know.
once we're done.
I
I'll be
know.
like,
Or I'll do
I'll
it
be
in the
down here for
or like I mean the Ampeg Line 6 Yamaha, you know, like these things are
Yeah.
great.
Yeah.
And I could probably figure something out in there.
Yeah.
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 These are fun.
I use my Stomp quite a bit actually too, you know, especially the SVT and the B15 models. But you have an old B15 back there behind you too.
I do. I
What
do.
what
I
year
had
what year is that?
several.
Yeah.
This one I had several, and I sold one to one other Ampeg artist, awesome guy, Joel Gottschalk,
Oh yeah.
who I've been
Yes.
messaging. Yeah, he has my old B15, which is this crazy story. Long story short, went on Talkbase, plugged in some addresses. Some of the community is so cool, and they're like, "Well, that address in Philadelphia is a natural historical landmark." Oh my god! And it was the house amp at a club called the Clef Club, and Joel
Okay.
has it now. And this bass player, I forgot his name off the top of my head. The guy whose name was on the sticker, he played for Count Basie. So,
Wow.
anyways, Joel is caretaking that. That's his. And
Yep.
because I found this one at a local guitar center, and I saw it in the corner. It was the equivalent of I love movies. So like in Star Wars, when Luke sees the droids, and he's like, I don't know. Like, look at that one. I'm always gonna try it out. But I was ready to like
Yep.
get electrocuted
Yep.
at Guitar
Yep.
Center. So I found it. I think it's a 62.
Okay.
Here, I actually have this like camera setup. Let's see if I botch this.
Yeah, go for it.
Okay.
There you
Didn't
go.
botch it.
Nope.
So it's a
Nope.
62 B15 Navy random flare
Oh yeah. Yep.
with
Yep.
a name on it, Jerry.
Jerry.
Yeah,
Interesting.
it belonged to Jerry. And I walked in and I plugged it in. I was like, "Oh my god!" And I just
Wow.
like looked at the guys like, "Can you hold this? I just need to like eat lunch and not jump in like in."
Yeah.
Can you hold this? And someone called right after, and I just bought it. It's like, okay, this is coming home.
Especially so I gotta say, the only other Navy random flare B15 that I've ever seen is in Lon Cohen's studio rentals up in Burbank. I think he's in
Oh
Burbank.
wow! I'm gonna
Um,
turn
eh,
this headlamp on so we can
yeah,
see
go
like
for it.
the
Yeah,
the
because
coloring.
it's not your typical Navy random flare. Isn't your typical. It's not your blue diamond type Tolex. It's a really. I'm going to check the history book here real quick because, interestingly enough, that Navy random flare that Lon has, that is too wild. Um, that's that. Whenever McCartney is in town recording, that's the amp that
Heard of
he
that guy?
insists on. Yeah, some chap
Some
from
guy.
across the pond played a funny Hofner. I was just looking to see if there's anything in the history book. I know there's a reference to Navy random flare here in the history book. If
I need to
anybody's,
get that book.
I let me get it for you then, because just as a gift for coming on. But this is the history book, man. It's like this was actually written by the gentleman. There's three guys that wrote it: Bill Moore, Greg Hopkins, and the third gentleman is Greg Galliano. But I know Bill, I know Greg. I've known Greg for years through St. Louis music, but Greg used to come out to the NAMM show every year too. And if he owns a company in St. Louis called Vintage Amp Restoration. So if you're ever looking to like have your B15 or any, I think it's primarily vintage fenders and vintage Ampegs. He does these restorations. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he does, I
Perfect.
mean, and he knows like, oh, this era amp, like he could look at your amp and say, you know, these types of caps or these types of components with these numbers on them tell me that this amp was built in, you know, 19 whatever.
Oof.
That's how detailed he gets into this stuff. So
Yeah, we'll have to connect about that.
yeah.
My guy who I call him, he's like my gear Sith Master. Sorry, Jedi, Star
No,
Wars
that's
stuff.
all right,
I call
man.
him Darth Vintage. Scott Shiraki. You know
Oh yeah.
Scott? Yeah.
I know Scott very well. Yeah.
Yeah, so I call him Darth Vintage. I'm like, what do you think? He's like, you need the screwdriver, the right the
The right
Ampeg
screwdriver.
screwdriver.
Yeah. Yeah.
On a side note, let me open this thing up. It has the factory Ampeg tubes, I think.
Does it really? Wow. Wow.
This is when I break it on
No.
camera.
No, don't say that. This is now I gotta say for everybody that's watching, this is like really nuts and bolts SVT time because we're geeking out over gear now.
Oh
But
yeah.
we're gonna share some recipes here in a minute.
Oh sure. Here we go.
Yeah.
Can you
Oh,
see
yeah.
it? It says Ampeg.
Yep, absolutely. Those are the original Ampeg tubes. Wow.
Yeah, all of them.
That is so cool. And it's on the base. It's not actually etched into the glass, which were the original tubes.
Oh, I didn't know. So there it is. That's where I learned.
Well, like if you buy a Heritage, like if you buy a Heritage 50th now, we have what they're branded Super Valve 6550s, but the Ampeg branding is on the glass itself rather than on the base of the tube. That's really cool, Mark.
Thanks. I
That's
was
really
really
cool.
fortunate. I'll put it together later. I was really fortunate when I found it, and I just haven't looked back. I had SB12, and to
Yep.
fund it, I had to let that one go. And Joel has the other B15, and this one's the one for me.
Yeah.
But I love them. They're so cool to have around. I mean, the design's inspired, if I remember right, from a Singer sewing machine.
That's right.
Because the head flips, and I just
Yeah.
love that. And
Yep.
my grandma owned a dress shop in the Philippines, and I showed it to her. She's like, "Oh, neat."
Yeah, no kidding. Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. Yep. Have you ever seen the Oliver Power Flex where the
It's-
head actually raises up?
I just saw it on Instagram somewhere, and I was
Yeah.
frightened and blown away.
Yeah. Not to
It just-
mention the motor and everything that is used in the cabinet to do that. I mean, the combo, the whole unit itself, the whole amplifier itself weighed like 100 and something pounds. It was stupidly heavy because of the mechanism and the railings and all. Yeah, it was just, but it was, I remember Jess showing that to me in his studio. Like you flip the button and you see the head come up out of the cabinet.
like an old elevator.
Yeah. Yeah.
So cool.
Exactly. Yeah.
Side note, because we were talking about, Ampeg's family, this thing, right, is so cool. But look at this switch I got.
Yes. So I saw that somebody had posted. So that mounts right on top of
With just dual-sided tape. A guy who's a cool builder, well, it's Pedalnetics is the company. Sorry to bring it up, but
no.
I talked to Matt Ferguson about it, and he was like, "Whoa, that's cool." It seems, I love the welcoming nature of like when someone, even though if they're part of the company, like, "Oh, that's really neat."
Yep.
But yeah, he just 3D prints them, and that's it.
Really?
And it
Okay.
just sits perfectly around it. So now it depends on the situation, but if I'm in an ampless situation, I might bring this.
Yep.
And a
And
DI.
it's Pedalnetics.
Yeah, Pedalnetics.
I'm writing that down too.
Right there.
Because I have because I have the 2-button
Like side thing.
the side thing, but
Yeah.
it's like I just throw it on my pedal board when I'm traveling with it, and then when I get to the gig, it's like I just kind of pull it out and it sits,
Yeah.
wherever
This is
there's room.
Yeah, this works really well. So now I keep like a tuner, and then this flips between pages, and
Yep.
it's been pretty neat.
Pedalnetics. Okay. Well,
Wow. R2.
yeah, right? That's R2. Exactly.
R2.
Pedalnetics. I got that written down too.
This is my
Cool.
R2.
Yeah, right. Now,
B15 R2.
at one point, you had kind of like an array, a collection of B15s and SB12s. Is that all into?
It's all
that
it's
B15 now?
into this now. Yeah.
Yeah. That's all right.
And it was cool though, because I mean, again, taking a page out of the people you look up to. Sean like separates the head, so
Yep.
when you're put the cab somewhere else. And eventually, I'd love to get more. I would love to do like if I were on the road with like an amp in a box kind of thing, like not like amping up, sorry,
Yeah.
in a ISO thing.
Yep.
Sean put a B15 in an ISO box with Mayor, and I saw Adam Clayton do that.
Yep.
That's like I would do that. I would
Yeah.
love to do that in the right situation. It'd be so cool.
Yeah. Actually, so next NAM show that we're all together, hopefully she'll come out to the show and you'll be there as well. But Harmony Kelly, the bassist for Kenny Chesney,
Mm,
same thing. She has it's not a B15, but it's a PF. It's either a 20T or a 50T, one of the new tube
mhm.
B15 style heads. That and a single 12 in an ISO box off to the
Perfect.
side of the stage for Kenny, and it's mic'd.
Perfect.
John Button actually has his B15 head in a separate head case too that
Oh
he
yeah.
travels with too. Yeah.
Yeah. I was talking with him about it, and I thought that was really cool. Ampeg Haji,
Uh,
20T.
yeah. Thank you, Haji. It's a 20T. Yep. Yep.
Hi.
So
That's cool. Yeah, I would love to do that. And like, yeah, I nerd out sometimes when things are slower. I'm on like on a flight. I'll like design like the rig, like
the
the
rig.
A and B rig. Like I would do this and this. Like I'm such a nerd. Like I think it all like traces back to like being a kid. I loved toys as a kid, and it
Yeah.
just kind of translates. And I would read I was more. There were times where I'd be really about the pamphlet that came with it,
Yep.
like the catalog.
Yep.
And
Absolutely.
so like that still sits in me, somewhere, and I'll like draw it out. I'll like have these terrible schematics of how I'd wire it, and like on an iPad with a pencil, and just like on a flight, like this is what I would do. It's like, well, I'm actually doing it, like in some senses, which is fun and thankful, but it's
Yeah.
I'm still a kid about it, still
Yeah.
nerd
Oh,
on it.
dude, I got to tell you, it's like whenever you see me posting photos or doing social posts where I'm doing sound samples or sound demos or you know out in the garage, it's like let's see what a 12 sounds like with a 15 with an SVT. Or thankfully, I work for a company that condones me doing that, and I'm so thankful that I have the resources to mess around with stuff like that. But
That's so cool.
I do that all the time, and that way I do it kind of part of as market research too, so that when somebody says, "Hey, dude, what is I'm thinking of running a 20T through this," I can honestly say, "Well, funny you should ask, because I just did that last week, and I can tell you what to expect."
I think we talked about we've had that conversation in some
Yeah,
random funny facets. There was one day when I put my Magnavox SVT
yep,
on top of the mini VR210 once,
yep, yep,
and I thought just for hilarious, like I put it vertically in the
yep,
head as if it was that, and I just took a picture of it, and I just thought anyways, just
like a
funny stuff.
lopsided Stonehenge.
Yeah, like a big T.
Yeah,
It was
yep,
hilarious. And then I
yep,
put the little head on the 810, my like silver grill 70s
yes.
810.
Yep,
So
which
cool.
actually sounds pretty amazing. There's I forget who sent me that same thing. They're actually touring with a micro VR on top of an A10 cab.
No
And
way. That's
yeah,
cool.
yeah, and it doesn't get overly loud, but even at low volumes, it actually sounds really cool.
That's cool.
So
I try and be notoriously quiet. I guess that's like a thing. I get scared to be too loud, like to be that guy,
yeah, yeah.
So I always
Yep,
like
yep,
I maybe it's something I picked up along the years, like be the guy that they go, "Hey, can you turn up?" I'm like,
yes,
"Sure.
yeah, yep,
Absolutely."
yep. Now, are you I like with Vertical Horizon,
Yeah.
is your stage volume pretty much
So there's been time, well, yeah, I would say it's pretty quiet. We've gone back and forth, and we've been experimenting with ampless, which has been
okay?
which is counter with what we are talking about, right?
Yeah, yeah,
But there's times where we just, oh man, when you asked me if I was free in November to do this, I was like, yes, then no, because we ended up getting a gig, or we ended up flying out to Japan to play
okay.
for the troops, which means a lot to me. My dad's a
Of
Vietnam veteran.
course. Yeah.
He served it. He was on an aircraft carrier. Anyways, we played on an aircraft carrier. We
Oh,
flew.
that's right. I saw that.
Oh
Yes.
my gosh, we flew from Japan onto an aircraft carrier. They could like it could be a 1 to 3 hour flight because we can't tell you where it is. That's so crazy. So
Wow.
we're on this little plane and we land on it. It was like the guys are like Top Gun fanatics, and like we all, it was great. So we land, we play, we stay the night, we play in the main hangar between two, I don't know the planes very well, F-18s possibly flanking us. It looked like a Street Fighter like level where people fight, on the video on the old
Yeah,
NES
yeah,
game. And we played, there's 5,000 troops on there, sailors, and they just to give them a day off. And man, it means a lot to me. Like what they do really allows us to do this. I'm a
yeah.
big supporter, and just to give them a day off because this crew apparently has been through COVID, and just and some I'm like forgetting like some of these other challenges that are really unique to
Yeah.
them.
Yeah.
And so they are really isolated. And one thing, if I ever get a chance, and this is, if I could talk to anyone at Spotify or Netflix, maybe there's me putting it out there in the world.
Mhm.
This that on day when you save something on your phone on Spotify on day 31, so after 30 days, everything goes away.
Okay.
So on day 31 on any of these ships, if they don't have it hard, like on a hard drive,
Yep.
no music, no
It goes
movies,
away.
goes away. Everything. Which is heartbreaking. So
Wow.
I'm just putting that out there in the world, in the ether. If anyone knows anyone, let's get that figured out, because that's the day like music literally dies, and it's
Yeah.
heartbreaking. There's other things they do, like they make do of it. They have like their own little fun talent shows, or they have like someone donated a Bob Ross 24-hour channel. So there a bunch of people are into painting now on the ship, and I really just like got along with them. And my dad serving on an aircraft carrier, it was cool. And then they launched us off. We went back to Japan, like Top Gun, like whoosh. They let us like also conduct shooting planes off. It was a dream. It was, and just to
Wow.
give back, it was probably, I'll say this, I've done some cool shows, but that was probably the most meaningful
Yeah.
show I've ever played.
Yeah, I could see that.
Besides like a memorial show when someone's passed.
Yeah.
That was like it was surreal.
Yeah. Yeah. I could definitely see that. And again, I feel the same way too. I've got two, my two daughters, both of their both of their boyfriends
Ah,
are enlisted. And one of them, the younger one, is actually over in Saudi Arabia right
oh
now.
wow.
And I
Thankful
have
for them.
I have the utmost respect,
Yeah.
and I that would be an absolute honor in my opinion, like being able to go and entertain the troops who, that's
Yeah.
not in their, it's never really anything in their forecast when they sign up that they're going to get entertained.
Oh,
There's nothing
seriously.
entertaining about being sequestered on an aircraft carrier for a year or
Mu-
two.
yeah, it was like walking around like Aliens, the movie,
Yeah,
like, or like Avatar, you're around all this like industrial like equipment, like gunmetal gray. Like I
yeah,
loved it. I love that aesthetic, but you
yeah,
just see people working and they're like younger than you. And most of these sailors aren't like of the age range to really know vertical horizon.
yeah.
Sure, there's been a resurgence of things,
Sure.
but they were just going with it because it's a day off, you know?
Yeah,
Like these
yeah,
people, this was right before the holidays. If I remember right, they were gonna go home or be on land by Christmas. But based on some things that were happening in the world that day when I was there, that might have got changed.
yep,
So it's like, oh, you might get to be home or FaceTime your family for Christmas. Actually not. It's like, whoa, that kind of liberty that
yeah.
they fight for by sharing theirs is insane. And that's why I respect them for. And they were home. So they were
They
home for
were
Christmas.
okay.
Yeah. Made friends with some of them.
So what did you do for gear when you flew out there? Like,
That was an ampless situation.
yeah, okay,
So
okay,
because as much as I would love to see an SVT,
sure.
the guitar guys did
Yep,
helices, plural.
yep, yep.
I brought something different. I brought a quad cortex, which is an
Yep.
experiment, and I profiled my Ampeg, my 70s SVT to the best I could.
Hmm.
And it's cool. I'm still seeing how much I like it because the form factor of this is a lot smaller, and
Yeah,
I don't need that many buttons.
yeah,
The
yeah,
Cortex sounds great, don't get me wrong, but I'm seeing where I don't know, I'm experimenting.
yeah.
And this is in our tree. I want to try a Yamaha bass too. I was talking to Matt Ferguson about
Oh
it.
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, like a 5 for vertical. That'd be
Yep.
cool.
Yep. Yeah. That's I've actually I've got a BBP 35 or BB 35P back here that I got when I first came on with Yamaha because I was actually looking for a 5-string passive P bass
Yeah.
at the time, and then that same time when Yamaha acquired Ampeg, this kind of filled the spot, and it's just a great
That's
instrument.
that's cool.
It's
And
really
I love the whole like they have the Rev Star series, which like lines up with like the Cafe Racer thing.
yep,
I just love
yep,
the like, sure I'm a Fender guy like at heart and all that, but I think that's so cool.
yeah,
Like it ties into heritage and pushes some innovation. Or I keep like I'll bug Fergus Matt about it sometimes.
yep.
Like what about? I mean, now this might be barking up the tree. Like what about like a Rev Star bass or like a short scale like BB or all these like
Oh
just
yeah,
crazy little things like because I always have silly ideas again like a kid. I just
Th-
write it down.
nothing silly about that, but that's yeah. I mean I do the same thing too, and it's like because I'm so close to it. But it's also like Dom and I say the same thing. It's like, hey, what about this with? Oh yeah, that's right. We're not product managers for Yamaha guitars.
Yeah.
We can only make suggestions. But
I've actually thought about going back to school for industrial design for
okay,
like product development stuff because
man,
I it just always like it's slow right now. It's like
yeah,
depressing at times. It's really hard, challenging. It's like, what can I do to avoid this? That's kind of a New Year's
yeah,
resolution. The
yeah,
January scaries.
yeah,
It's like,
yeah.
what?
Now I yeah. Are you do you have anything in the works coming up for
Yeah,
2023 that you
yeah.
can talk
I was
about?
talking with Matt, and I believe, I think it's confirmed, but we'll be playing at like this great place. I don't know if I could. I'll just like keep it loose, right?
Okay,
We're gonna play at this like really cool magical place probably again.
okay,
Like a kingdom of sorts,
yep.
maybe. And I
Uh,
think that's like ironed out in like the Florida region.
hmm.
Um like
Hmm.
I think there's a mouse like uh and we've done that once and it was the coolest experience. I brought my girlfriend out and we just like played the shows, went around the park. Now the Millennium Falcon's
Wow.
there. Why not?
Yeah,
I'm
right?
gonna make I'm gonna make the singer fly the Millennium Falcon. He hasn't done it yet. And if it happens, but I'm pretty sure that's a go. And then some stuff in Indonesia, I believe, and hopefully other shows. I think like the Asia market.
Okay.
Maybe get back to the Philippines. Last time I played there, my folks were there, and I got to like
Oh,
bring them out, and my grandma,
nice.
my aunt, her boyfriend, and that was just cool. I was like in the most posh hotel in the Philippines, and it's like way too high, like stories, like when you're in the elevator too long.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm like, wow. Um, everything was like cement. It was like really posh, but hopefully we get to do that again. And it was a lot of fun. But Indonesia was the last show I played before the pandemic, and it was the biggest show I've played with them.
Okay.
And Vertical Horizon, they have their song "Everything You Want," which a lot of people are familiar with, and
Yep.
they have this ballad called "Best I Ever Had," and then like in parentheses, it's called "Gray Sky Morning." And my theory, well, anyways, in Indonesia, that's their favorite song,
Okay.
which is kind of surreal. And you're like, oh, I'm so used to everything you want, or maybe you're a god or something, but they all like love this love song. And honestly, their mornings are great because it's like I think of the ecosystem.
Okay.
So I think that there's something that really resonates for them. But I have this crazy video somewhere deep in my Instagram pre-pandemic where I think 15,000, 8,000 people, I can't remember, it's like in the thousands, were singing this song to Matt when he was playing it. And it was like, whoa. I like grabbed it on a GoPro and I airdropped it to him on our flight back home. I was like, dude, there you go. That's
Yeah.
like the thing, you
Yeah.
made this song for all these, that's their song.
Yep. Yep.
That's like my favorite thing. Like, if I were to have a, what's it called, mission statement as a bass player or sideman,
Yep.
is these songs are these artists like it's like their baby. It's like
Yep.
you got to treat it with respect. You don't sneak in your own little. There's no reason for that. You just
Yeah.
want to support and treat it like it's there. You want to know the titles of the songs. You don't want to call. Oh, is it the one in G? No,
Yeah. Right.
we're
Yeah.
gonna play this. and we're gonna play it like that,
Yeah. Yeah.
So love that.
That's the ultimate compliment, man. When people start singing your babies back to you,
That many people. It was a real awe-inspiring moment.
Sure.
Yeah, it was cool to
Sure.
see and support.
Man. Hey, listen, I know we went,
Oh, we're going in time.
as we always do, we always go overtime. But before I forget, and we're gonna have to cut this. We're gonna cut this here in a few minutes. But I've got this new thing, and I know I ran it by you, but this is something new that I'm dreaming up, and I don't know if I'm going to do it for every SVT time, but I got this.
Oh,
I'm calling it Dino's 10 Rapid Fire.
oh yes.
So I'm going to ask you 10 quick questions.
Bring it.
And just you got to tell me what comes to mind first. So it's
Blue, France.
Now I got to ask the question
D.
first. That's close. All right, you ready?
Yeah.
So I don't know if we don't need a timer or anything, but
Okay.
all right. So question number 1: P or Bay? P or J base?
P.
Question 2: Passive or active?
Passive.
Question 3: B15 SVT or Pro Series?
B15.
Okay. Question 4: Cable or wireless?
Cable.
Okay. 5: Pick or fingers?
Fingers.
Okay.
Yeah, fingers. I was just thinking, what's the situation? Like
that I knew that was gonna what's the song? Number 6: IEMs or floor wedges?
oh wow, IEMs.
Okay.
I dig
All
it.
right. Number 7: pedals or no pedals? Another situation.
I like pedals.
Okay. Number 8: window or aisle?
Aisle.
Okay.
Aisle for me.
Number 9: high bunk or low bunk?
Low. I like it low.
Okay. And then number 10: black with white piping or silver and blue?
Silver and blue.
All right. Cool. So that's 10 questions. I know I remember the answers to all of them. I have to write them down.
Oh, those are good. I like that. I like that. So cool.
Kind of gives us a quick insight on everything. I probably should have started off with that.
I think at the end I think the end's pretty cool.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
Probably.
Beginning's cool. You could always excerpt it, and put that just like that little section on like
That's
your
true.
little 15-second, 15-minute thing.
Now the problem is I have to change the questions up from artist to artist that we have on here because we can't have the same questions with the same answers all the time. So but I'm gonna keep this for now. I'll get it.
It's like
Anyways.
it gets really dicey. It's like Jamerson or Babbitt. You're like,
yeah. No. That's we won't.
No contention.
We won't get into that. Exactly. Exactly. Mark, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on, man.
Thank you. This was awesome. I feel like we could have gone so much further. We have so many like bases and stuff and like artist stuff, but I'll be happy to do it again anytime.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And that, like I said, it's the case, it's the case with everybody that comes on. It's just, I like to say sometimes this is like Seinfeld. It's a show about nothing, but we talk about everything.
Oh, that's so good.
And it's like, yeah, we could go for hours and hours and hours and talk about gear and everything else. But, obviously I've got another meeting actually coming up. Oh, actually, hang on. Before we go here, Haji, thank you for posting this. I'm going to just put your website up here.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but yeah, man, thank you so much for coming on. We'll get back together and we'll talk more about bases and
I would love to
other stuff that we haven't talked about and catch up.
It would be fun to have like some other guy, like some like Lefebvre and Hurley.
Oh yeah.
On it at the same time.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Like that's a lot of New England. I'm a big fan.
Yeah,
I have a group text with them. Like anytime I land at Boston, there's the Celtic, like the guy, he's there, and I send him a picture of him. I'm like, guys, I'm here. and Matt Musty, more New England. All these guys, drummer. But yeah.
Yep. Sean Lefebvre,
Hutch,
Tony Levin.
All you guys are so good because you didn't have this California weather to skateboard in and twist your ankle.
We didn't have any distractions.
You guys had snow.
Yeah. From November to May, we were kind of sequestered unless you took up skiing or sledding.
Hardened by snow.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Oh man. Well, listen, I want to just quick thank you to everybody that's been watching, that's been
Yeah.
tuned in for the last hour. Thanks for joining in. We'll follow up again with another SVT time in 2 weeks. We've got it's actually going to be an SVT. It'll be a Sweet Talk episode where we focus
Oh,
primarily on the SVT suite with Zach Rippey, who's I think he's in LA right now, but producer and engineer that's been using the suite as well.
I just
Um,
used it on a session like recently the other day, and I used Sean's preset basics,
yep,
and
yep.
the artist preferred that over my Tube DI, which was like,
Really?
I was like,
Okay.
oh, cool. So yeah,
Yeah,
oh, that was
yeah,
cool.
yeah. No, that's very cool, man. That and Sean was so graceful to to donate his presets
That
and
guy,
man, that guy, I'll tell you.
that guy.
So, well, Erin, thank you for putting this together. Our fearless, I call her our producer in the background that puts this all together, and of course, Haji. That's been he monitors questions, and he's the one that's getting us all these Instagram and links and everything. So,
And editing out all my California likes.
yeah.
You got me, Haji. Like, like, thanks, Haji.
No, and hopefully Dom will be back with us in 2 weeks. Hopefully he's feeling better, and yeah, man, what can I say? Thank you again, and we'll catch you guys in 2 weeks. Cool.